Okay, so my first question is, what your company do?
Okay, so I run a company named Glovatrix, and our mission is to empower the deaf and the speech impaired people who rely on sign language for communication. So, for that, we've developed AI based gloves that translate sign language gestures to voice so that everyone can understand what deaf people want to say. It also has a microphone which converts voices to text so that deaf people can understand what everyone wants to say. And that's how we are bridging the communication gap.
Okay, that's cool. And in what languages it work? Like, for example, how languages it supports?
So, the input language, that is the sign language that is currently being supported, is Indian Sign Language. Although we have plans to expand to other sign languages also, like American Sign Language and British Sign Language, the output language, that is the awaz that comes out of the speakers, can be any language: Hindi, Marathi, English,
Okay,
Kannada.
that depends upon the person who is wearing the glove.
Correct. It can be, there's an app through which you can just change the setting.
Okay, so what is the principle behind the gesture recognition system? I mean, what sensors you are using in your gloves or whatever things are involved?
So there are sensors on each fingertips. These are motion sensors which capture the angular velocity and the positioning of the fingers.
Mhm.
Okay, so there are 10 sensors on each fingertips and one on the wrist which captures this movement and this movement. Okay, that data goes to a microcontroller which is there on the wrist. From there, via Bluetooth, it goes to the phone. The phone app, which we have built from scratch, collects it and sends it to the cloud. So, our algorithm is pretty heavy and it is hosted on cloud right now. The processing happens there, an output is generated, and that output is relayed back to the gloves, from where there's a speaker on the gloves itself, from where the sound output is generated, and also the text output is generated, which is displayed on the screen.
Okay, okay. So what type of microcontroller you are using,
So currently we are working with ESP32.
and how AI is helping in all this process?
So AI is playing a major role. It is our ML model which is generating the output. So right now we are using simple classification. So for example, this is the sign of hello and this is the sign of how are you. Now all of these sensors are sending some data, right? Like some values. So there are 12 sensors which are each sending 6 values each. So 72 numerical values are the AI algorithm is getting every nanosecond. So combining all of that, there's an image which is formed, like a graphical image. And looking at that image, so every gesture has a specific footprint, right? When I do hello, it has a specific footprint in terms of numerical values which can be converted into data. When I do how are you, it has a specific footprint. So using that footprint, the AI predicts which gesture it is. That is one aspect of AI. The second aspect of AI is, so sign language grammar is slightly different from English grammar or spoken language grammar. So, for example, I will say a cat ran after the mouse, but in sign language it will be cat mouse ran.
Okay,
Sign
okay.
language does not have words like is, the, and. So using NLP, the AI algorithm is also like restructuring the sentence so that the output is a proper coherent sentence in English.
Okay, okay. So using ML, you're reframing the sentences basically.
Correct, right. Also, like, so the way everybody's handwriting is different, everybody's style of signing is also different. Like, there's a sign for teachers. So somebody would do it here, somebody would do it here, somebody would do it here, slight variations. So our AI model captures those variations as well.
Okay, okay. And how accurate it is?
So right now we have trained it on almost 200 gestures and we are getting 98% accuracy.
Okay, and also how does the system learn new hand signs or a way of signing as people used to more? Can AI be trained again to understand these new signs?
Yes, so what we do is if we have to add a new gesture, we go with the gloves to deaf people. We give it to, like, right now we are giving it to around 15 to 20 deaf people and we are having them do that gesture 10 times. So if 20 people do that gesture 10 times, we are getting around 200 data points.
Mhm.
And then on those data points, the AI algorithm is learning. We add those and retrain the model.
Okay, and what happens when the system misinterpret a gesture? Is there a way to correct or train the system to prevent these errors?
So it is 98% accurate. That means 2% it is making an error. Now, right now, what we are doing is we are giving a feedback to the user. Like whatever gesture I'm doing, I'm deaf, right? If I'm using the gloves, I'm deaf. So whatever the speaker is generating, I can't hear it, but I can read the text. So I can make sure that if the gesture is interpreted correctly, I can just say no. Let me try again.
Okay.
It's a manual way for now. But yeah, we are trying to figure out how to um, automate it as well.
Okay, and also you told us that the device support a two-way communication. So how is this speech to text and text to speech is handled within the system?
So on our current, right now we are working that on the app, but we are simultaneously testing the microphones on the device. So how that works is very simple. If I say how are you, if I sign how are you, um, the speaker speaks out how are you. Now, when the other person responds, I'm fine, thank you, that I'm fine, thank you is captured by the microphone and displayed on the screen.
Okay, so if I'm not getting wrong, you're going to the application only when the user who is wearing the glove is, doing some sign language. And when the response is coming from the other side, it is directly, the microphone is listening to it and it is displayed on the
Correct,
screen.
correct,
Then the
correct.
application thing is not required in that process, right?
Correct, correct, correct. That is what eventually will happen like 1 month down the line. Right now, we are still using the app for that.
But what is the role of app in that situation?
The processing is happening on the app, simple. Because we've not incorporated a mic.
Okay,
The phone ka mic is being used.
okay.
Yeah.
So if I am the user of your product, then I have to wear the glove and also I have to use my phone, both things simultaneously.
So let me just show you a small video so that you have an idea of what I'm talking about. So this is a demonstration of how a deaf patient can have a private conversation with the doctor without an interpreter in the room. So this is a prototype that we are like the video is made on a prototype that was made almost 1.5 years ago. Now the gloves are much sleeker and much more better looking. But here is just to give you a flavor of what it looks like.
Hello, doctor. My name is Pariksha. I am deaf.
Hello, Mr. Parikshit. How may I help you? Can you hear the sound?
Yes, I can hear the sound. This voice is coming from the glove, right?
Yes, it's coming from the glove.
So there is a speaker, there is a mic, no, not the mic, only the speaker and a screen and a few sensors on the fingers to
Correct.
detect the gestures, right?
So this version had a speaker screen and a microphone. The current version, but then we moved away from it because battery ka issue aa raha tha, this was a previous iteration. So
Mm-hmm.
the current iteration that we are using does not have a screen and does not have a mic yet. But now that the version in itself is stable, we are adding the mic and we are adding the screen also. So that should be ready in about a month.
Okay, and in that the person who is speaking, mic will record it and it will translate it into text, and
Correct.
the person who cannot speak can read it from the screen, right?
Correct. Like for example, whatever the
Hello,
doctor
Mr.
says
Parikshit. How may I help you today?
appears on the screen.
I have back pain.
When did the pain start?
Last.
So this is how it. Uh,
So where is the phone? I mean, is the application active on his phone?
yeah, it is. The phone is not displayed on the table
Yes,
right
yes,
now.
okay.
Okay, so
Can
like for
you give me
example,
a look of an application also if you have?
yeah, let me show you that as well.
Hello,
You can see
how are
here.
you?
Here, yeah.
My name is Aishwarya. Gloves translate sign language to speech. Nice to meet you.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So what I can do is I can show you the application here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's not coming very well. Let me just try using. See, it's like this.
So what options are there in the application?
So it's like this. You press the connect button and it searches for the device.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, whenever it finds two devices, I don't have the gloves on me currently, but two watches appear.
The communication is via Bluetooth.
Yeah, via Bluetooth. So the two watches appear and you just tap on both of those watches, then it gets connected. So once it is connected, this turns green.
Okay.
This. Okay. And whatever you do appears there.
Also, you talked about the prototype. So, what are some major challenges made between initial prototypes and then the final product design? How the transition was?
So we are currently on the eighth iteration of our prototype and second iteration of the app. Let me just quickly show you a picture if I can find of all of the iterations that are there. So yeah, this has been our journey. We started in February 2020, where if you see our first prototype was made using a lot of jugaad, using duct tapes and jumper cables, which were flying all over the place. After frying a lot of components, we managed to initially we were working with flex sensors. So flex sensors is a bimetallic strip which detects the bend of the finger.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But two problems were there. First one was that flex sensors are very expensive. Almost 800 rupees you get one good quality flex sensor. While as the sensors that we are using are around 80 rupees per
Mm-hmm.
sensor. Second thing is it only detected the bend of the finger. It did not detect the movement. So here if I'm moving my hand like this, I'm not bending the finger. It was not able to detect that very well. So we were working with five flex sensors and one motion sensor on the wrist. But that accuracy was not coming. So we decided to scrap off flex sensors altogether and use only motion sensors. So we put motion sensors on all of them and so that this movement was captured seamlessly. That was one of the major changes. Of course, we were using Arduino, but
Mm-hmm.
Arduino is only limited to prototyping. It does not
Mm-hmm.
go beyond prototyping, and we were using that entire module
Oh, okay.
onto the PCB. So it was very bulky. As you
Mm-hmm.
can see here, it was like very big. Eventually, we moved to using the smaller Arduino component on a custom-made PCB, and finally we moved away from Arduino altogether. Then there was this version in between, if you see July 2022,
Mm-hmm.
where we were trying a smartwatch model. So there are no gloves, just the strings. It's a smartwatch with strings attached, and there were these rings. If
Okay.
yeah, finger rings. Okay, and the advantage of this was that the strings were detachable. So, for example, if the person, so okay, another feature that we give in this is background sound detection, which is a very, very important feature for the deaf people. For example, doorbell, baby crying, cooker whistle, all of these background sounds deaf people cannot catch. So, a deaf mother is generally diagnosed with anxiety because she cannot hear her baby cry. So she cannot sleep, she cannot eat, she cannot do anything. She has to keep staring at. Generally, ऐसा होता है ना when the baby sleeps, the mother sleeps. But the deaf mother is scared of sleeping because what if the baby starts crying and she's not able to hear it? So she keeps looking at the baby.
Okay, so it sends an alert when there is such noise.
Yeah, whenever the baby starts crying, the mic captures it and sends a vibrating notification.
So, will it specifically tell that the baby is crying, or will it just tell
Yes.
that there is some sound in the background?
No, no, no. It will specifically tell that the baby is crying. It is designed to capture uh, multiple
Ah,
different
okay. Okay.
background sounds.
Also,
So like
okay,
here,
okay.
yeah. So cooker whistle, baby crying. It will tell that specifically. Let me
Okay,
just
so it is like the known sounds are there. Whatever the known sounds are there, it
yeah,
can capture
here,
and
like if the
display.
baby is crying, there'll be a emoticon of the baby crying.
Mm-hmm.
If the cooker is whistling, it will show a cooker icon. If the doorbell is ringing, it will show a doorbell icon. So
Okay.
that the deaf person knows what sound it is. So there are some pre-programmed sounds that we have given, some 8, 10, like baby crying, cooker whistle, fire alarm, doorbell, car honking, etc. And we have given 4 provisions for the users also to custom record their own sounds if there are any. So yeah, what I was telling you is, so these strings are detachable, were detachable, so that if the deaf person wants to sit at home and not talk to anybody, he or she still needs to get the background sounds, but wearing all of that and sitting is not required. So you can just detach the strings and keep them. The moment you have to step outside, there's a magnetic connector. You just attach the strings and start talking. But because we were very short-staffed at that time and underfunded, we were not able to get that magnetic connection thing properly. So we thought that okay, fine, let's just work on a stable version right now, and later we can revisit the feature of making it detachable.
Miniaturization basically you want to do. Yeah.
Yeah, another problem with this version was that because it was just strings, there was a slag which was there. And
Mm-hmm.
that slag was very inconvenient, like it kept getting into the objects, then it was getting pulled.
Mm-hmm.
So the gloves, if you see there is no slag over there because it's got an anchor for the key.
Okay, and also you said that you have been prototyping, like you have made 8 versions.
Yeah.
So, do you also got any funds from government for prototyping?
Yes, we've got a lot of funds from government for prototyping. So we've raised almost 1.5 crore rupees so far, which are all equity free, debt free. So we got like 15 lakh rupees from Startup India Seed Fund Scheme, 10 lakh rupees from Nidhi Prayas, 50 lakh rupees from BIRAC Ignition Grant, that is big. We won a few competitions like Boeing, the plane company hosted a competition called Boeing Build 3.0. So we got 10 lakh rupees from there. We won a few more competitions. We won a competition from UN which gave us 2-3 lakh rupees. So ऐसे करते करते we have been funding our journey. Yeah.
Okay, and also how do you address the latency in gesture recognition and voice synthesis process to ensure real-time performance, like the process is going on in real time, right?
Right. So right now the latency is just as much as Alexa or Siri. It takes like half a second for it to respond. Now the thing is, because the structure of sign language is not the same as English.
Mm-hmm.
Like as I'm signing, I cannot like see when as I'm speaking, the words can come on the screen
Right.
because whatever I'm speaking, it's the same, it's in sync. But
Mm-hmm.
sign language grammar is slightly different. So, for example, if I want to say the cat ran after the mouse, I will say cat mouse ran. So, I will have to wait for the person to finish the sentence, only then it will
It will
start
process
working.
it.
Yeah, so that is what we are doing right now. But yeah, we also want to make it as real time as possible. So we are collaborating with a bunch of sign language interpreters to see how they do the interpretation live
Mm-hmm.
and make it as real time as possible. But again, we are still bootstrapped, so we are very overworked and underfunded. So yeah.
Okay. Do you have any competition in this field?
We don't have any competition that is in the market currently. There are a few companies which are working on a similar project, but it's mostly a final year students ka project,
Mm.
which is yeah,
Not into the revenue thing.
nobody's commercially there yet.
Okay, so how the if I have that, how electronics is involved in in your device or in your product?
Electronics are heavily involved. So we have two types of PCBs. One is the main PCB which goes on the wrist, and we have custom made 10 PCBs which go on the fingertips. So the main PCB has one motion sensor, it has a ESP32, it has a microphone, speaker, haptic motor, and a screen mainly. These are the components, and of course the resistors and capacitors to support the whole ecosystem of the PCB. On our fingertips, we have the motion sensor, and one of the fingertips has a button. So what we do is you press the button, you do the sign language gestures, and then you press the button again. Between the two button presses, whatever sign language gestures are done goes to the cloud for processing. That's how our algorithm knows when I'm doing sign language and when I'm just scratching my head.
Okay, and also talking about the revenue, how many units you have sold and what revenue is being generated?
So we have not sold any pieces right now. We have got some CSR from a hotel chain named Royal Orchid Hotels, which has recently started hiring deaf people. So we
Mm-hmm.
have got a pre-order of 10 devices through their CSR, but yeah, like next month onwards, we will start deploying it. But that is, I'm not sure if you can call it as a revenue because we've got that CSR for a paid pilot project.
Okay.
So
Oh,
we've not sold any yet.
okay. And where do you manufacture? Like you have your own plant where you are manufacturing your or you're outsourcing things. Like for example, you talked about you have 10, 11 PCBs. So where the manufacturing process is happening.
So right now we are getting our PCBs from China. We upload our designs and
Okay.
the PCBs with the SMDs, like SMD components come pre-assembled. The
Mm-hmm.
rest of the components are hand soldered in India. The components come from Japan, US, Taiwan, China, everywhere, and they're hand soldered here. The casing or the dabba in which the PCB is hosted is 3D printed here. The gloves are also stitched by a local tailor here. All of these come to our assembly unit. You can't call it a manufacturing plant exactly, but it's a small assembly unit where people manually do the casing.
And also, any reason of selecting the name of the startup?
Glovatrix.
Yeah.
Yeah, so me and my co-founder, we both grew up watching a cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
It was called SWAT Cats. Are you aware of it?
No, sorry.
Okay, so it was a cartoon called SWAT Cats where there were two cats which fought crime.
Okay.
In that, Glovatrix was their super weapon. It was a glove through which missiles came out.
Okay. Okay.
We want these gloves to be the superpower of the deaf people, जिसमें से missiles तो नहीं but आवाज निकलेगी. That was
Okay.
the thought behind it.
Okay. And any reason for this innovation or startup, beginning a startup?
Yeah, so back when I was in school in 8th standard, I'm my school had a separate section for children with disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a part of the student council, so we had to interact with these kids on a weekly basis. So I used to see that while all of these kids are struggling with some disability or the other, they all had a friend to talk to. Like the kid on the wheelchair was friends with a blind kid. There was somebody with CP who was friends with an autistic kid,
Mm-hmm.
which made their journey a little easier. But then there was this 6-year-old child named Atharv who had no friends. Not because he didn't want to make them, but because nobody understood his sign language. No one knew how to speak to him. So that's when I started learning sign language. This is me, by the way, in the picture.
Okay.
That's when I started learning sign language. And I asked him, "Will you be my friend?" And he was so, so happy to know that there is somebody that he can speak to. There was so much repressed emotions in him. And then, he was very talkative. He was a brilliant kid. Since that day, I've always wanted to help deaf people communicate. It so happened that I did my electronics engineering and my final year project was a gesture controlled robotic car. So instead of remote, you control it with gestures.
Mm-hmm.
So combining the sign language and gestures and circuits, I thought of making gloves that would translate sign language to voice so that deaf people can communicate with everyone. And that's how Glovatrix was born.
Okay. 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 So this is basically a tech innovation, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what are the design challenges you faced?
Design as in from the user perspective.
No, not from the user perspective. Like while building the product, there might be coming some challenges while building it up. So what are those design challenges you're facing, and how did you overcome those challenges?
So we faced a lot of design challenges. Now, one USP of ours you can say is that this product has been made in collaboration with the deaf community. So between every iteration, we went back to the deaf community to ensure that the product that we are making is in alignment with their needs and wants.
Mhm.
So, for example, the first one that we made, it was a full glove, which was very like it was not very comfortable, especially in summers. Now, deaf people already have one less sense, so touch is a very important sense for them.
Right.
We like there is no point. The name of a product is fifth sense, right? Because deaf people have only four senses. This will act as their fifth sense. But
Mhm.
giving them fifth sense and taking away their fourth sense, which is touch, did not make sense. So
Mhm.
that's when we moved to a smartwatch model, which was like completely airy and free. But then
Mhm.
again, that was causing lags. So we made a hybrid model, which was combination of smartwatch and a glove which had open fingertips and open palms so that their touch sense can also be preserved. So that was one challenge that we overcame. Another thing is the two-way communication that I'm talking about. It's a simple speech to text algorithm, but it's not that simple. So, like, see, in a, let's say in a workplace conference, if I were to translate everything, all the speech to voice, we'll have to give them a huge chunk of text. Now, the problem with them is they cannot consume so much text because English is a very phonetic language. So, bachpan se we are taught A for apple, B for bat, right? So, when you see a word, like this meeting is being recorded or any word, Aishwarya, you can hear it in your head because you know what A sounds like, what SH sounds like. Deaf people
Right.
don't know what it sounds like, so for them it is very difficult to read a whole bunch of text. They can consume two, three words, but not the whole text. So what we did was, instead of giving them all of the text, we just put a summarizer, and now we give them two or three words of text just to give them a context. So using that and lip reading, they can get the full context. Because if
Mm.
we give them a chunk of paragraph, they're like they get bamboozled.
Mm.
So
Okay.
this is something that we learned about the deaf community. Other design challenges are, of course, we have to balance the comfort versus functionality. So, for example, a full glove is better in terms of functionality, but it is not comfortable.
Mm.
So, yeah, things like that.
Okay. Okay. So you have your own design team.
Yeah, yeah, we do.
Okay. So is there any tie-up with academia
Yeah,
industry?
we have. So we have hired a product designing firm called Dominic's Global, and they helped us understand a lot of. They helped us do the initial empathy mapping, and they helped us understand a lot of nuances of how deaf people think, or how we can make a user-centric design.
Okay, so your product is working on different platforms, like right, like it is also having a circuit, and then you're having an app, then it is going to a cloud and everything. So how did you what challenges did you face in developing a cross-platform application, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Sure. So the biggest challenge that we had with while developing the app was taking the data from the hardware, and not just taking the data from one hardware, but taking the data from two like gloves simultaneously. So that was one of something that we struggled with for a long time, the Bluetooth connectivity. How do you connect two devices to one phone simultaneously, and how to make it wireless?
Mhm.
Because establishing that one Bluetooth bridge is relatively easier, but there was not much data or documentation when we started back in 2020 on building two Bluetooth bridges simultaneously. And mind you, there was no chat GPT at that time. So, yeah, that was one of the things. The Flutter app was actually built by one of our partner agencies called Coreco Technologies. Uh, Initially, we were developing it on native because that's what we thought, that maybe building it on native would make it easier, but then we would have had to build two separate apps, one for Android and one for iOS. But Coreco was very confident that Flutter pe bhi app ban jayega, so they made the first one pro bono for us, the MVP app, which established the Bluetooth connectivity, and then they proceeded to make the full-fledged app. But yeah, the toughest part about that was to collect data from the hardware. So right now what happens is that the device on the right sends the data to the device on the left, and then the left one collects both the packets and sends it to the phone.
Okay, like you have the microcontroller on both your hands. One
Yes.
microcontroller is communicating with the other one,
Yeah.
and then the other one is communicating with the application, and it is going to the cloud for processing,
Correct.
right? So the processing is happening over the edge, or it is happening on the cloud.
So the heavy processing is happening on the edge, sorry, on the cloud. So that internet is required. But the thing is, what if the deaf people don't have internet and
Right.
we want to communicate something of emergency? We can't just leave them high and dry. So we have put a small gesture library which has 26 alphabets and some 10 emergency terms like call an ambulance or I want water or some 10 emergency terms on edge for which they don't need internet. But to
Okay.
access the entire library of 20,000 gestures, they need the
So
internet.
if you have to communicate, you need to have internet. But if
Yes.
you have to send, a message, then the internet is not that required. Okay, so
Not a
uh,
message, like for example, A, B, C, D, the alphabets are there. So if
okay,
somebody wants to communicate the alphabets, like you can do finger spelling
okay,
without requiring internet.
okay. So also, as you told me that the data is going to the cloud, so how do you ensure the security and privacy of the data collected by the device, especially because it is, also involving the personal communication?
Yeah, so we are still working on that, the data security and privacy. We've not rolled it out yet. And this is something that we are working on priority basis to put some firewalls there to make sure the data privacy is maintained.
How do you see the product impacting the development and evolution of sign language? Do you think it will lead to the creation of new signs or gestures?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, we there's a government body called ISLRTC, that is Indian Sign Language Research and Training Center. So ISLRTC is the one who is developing the sign language for India. So before 2018, every state had its different language and had its different sign language as well. So Maharashtra had Marathi sign language, Gujarat had Gujarati sign language. So it was very difficult for two deaf people from two different parts of India to communicate. So there was no unity. But then ISLRTC was formed to make one sign language for the entire country, that is Indian Sign Language, so that there is unity amongst the deaf community and then the deaf community as a whole can progress. So we went and had multiple discussions with ISLRTC, and they're willing to collaborate with us in order to not just translate sign language but to create sign language as well. So, for example, we asked them, how do you add new signs to the dictionary? So what they said was, like, let's say they want to add the sign for earphones. Okay, so they call two, three experts from different parts of the country who are experts in sign language, deaf culture, and who are experts in the subject matter. Like, let's say medical dictionary ka agar kuch, if they want to
Hmm.
decide a sign, so there has to be some medical expert there also. So they all sit together and they figure out a sign. So I asked them that, okay, fine. Now, tell me, if how do you check if the 20,000 gestures with you? How do you check if the sign already exists or not? Like, let's say there is a sign which they discover, like which they come up with for medical dictionary, which may already exist in agricultural dictionary somewhere. Now, that medical expert will not know.
Mhm.
So they do not have any infrastructure to do that. So what we proposed is that we will, using our gloves, because since it can recognize sign language dictionary, like it can predict sign language to voice, using these gloves we can make a sign language dictionary for you guys, a digital catalog wherein you can check if this sign already exists, if this sign already exists, if this sign already exists, then what are the signs which are closer to these.
Mhm.
So we can make a full digital catalog and set parameters like what should be the speed of the hands, what should be the orientation of the hands, etc. Which can also be used as an educational platform to promote it. And they are very interested in this. We are still in talks with them, and we are looking forward for this collaboration.
Okay, so how do you envision the fifth sense being integrated? Like, you think that it will be more useful in the workplaces or for the personal use, where it will be find, most appreciation?
Yes, absolutely, in the workplaces. So
Mhm.
we want to enter the market via B2B. That is, working with organizations which hire deaf people as their employees. There are
Mhm.
multiple reasons for this. The first one being that sign language, as I said, has 20,000 gestures. And we will get to adding 20,000 gestures in our sign language library at some point. But right now we have only 200 gestures. Now, if we do a B2C or we give it to a deaf individual uh, who's not working for a particular organizations, that individual would want to use a large amount of vocabulary from there. That person would want to talk about travel and literature and food and whatnot. But a deaf waiter working at KFC using those gloves can hold a conversation using just 300 gloves, because the gesture library that we create will be very specific, like non-veg, spicy, chicken, all of the items on the menu.
Mm.
So we want to create small gesture libraries for each organization, and then eventually when we have enough words in in our gesture bank, we can do a B2C launch.
Okay.
So workplace communication is the perfect place to start from, because
Okay.
then there will be limited gestures. If there is something wrong with the device, if they can't figure out how to use it, they can contact the HR
Right.
very easily. That
Okay.
is
So
the
the
first.
idea right now is for workplaces, right?
Yes. The second reason for doing workplaces, because our volumes are low, the cost is pretty high. Once our volumes increase, the economies of scale will play in, and when we order components in bulk, we will get it with almost 30-40% off. So
Mm.
the organizations can afford these devices through their CSR funds. Once we do a B2C, our volumes will already be large enough and we can pass some of that discount to the deaf people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what strategies are you using to promote the adoption of your product among, both the deaf communities and the organizations also?
So, to organizations, we've received quite a lot of press attention and media coverage. So, we have been like our article has been there in Indian Express, Times of India, CNN News, NDTV News, Your Story. So, right now we have a pool of organizations which are on our wait list because they want the gloves, including Royal Orchid Hotels, TVS Scooters, Indigo Airlines, KFC.
Mhm. Okay.
So that is how we are promoting. Word of mouth spreads pretty fast, and media coverage always helps. We are also attending various different exhibitions and job fairs and startup summits that happen, which help us get more visibility. That is in terms of our customers. Now, in terms of our consumers, the deaf people, we have a community of around 10,000 deaf people who follow our social media pages also. So there was a reel that was shared introducing Fifth Sense, which got 1.5 million views because the deaf community shared it. So we have some plans, upcoming plans to engage the deaf community also, like by starting some deaf podcasts, for example, which will keep the deaf community also engaged.
Okay, so how did you deal with the noise and signal interference from the hand motions? Matlab, whenever you are making a motion,
Right.
then it kind of possible that there is some interference also coming up apart from the motion the person is making.
So the data that we receive, it goes through multiple layers. One of the layers is data quality check to make sure that none of the sensors are blown out. Okay, another layer it goes through is the noise reduction.
Okay.
Yeah, so that we get the data which is workable.
Okay. Okay. So, what are your future plans for growing the company? Are you planning to invest in new tools or hire more people or spend more on marketing and sales?
So right now our first aim is to enter the market via B2B. That is our go-to market strategy. Once we have established ourselves in 2 to 3 places where our gloves are deployed, where the deaf waiters are using our gloves to take the orders from the customer, that's when we plan on raising investment so that we get good valuation and yeah, better chances of getting a good deal with the VCs. We want to definitely expand our team both for marketing and sales and for R&D. And we want to continue working with a few organizations until we have a large enough gesture bank. After that, by let's say end of 2026, we plan two things, a B2C launch and going global. That is working with American Sign Language to translate ASL to voice.
Okay, so what are the current challenges which you are facing to grow super fast as a startup?
So right now we are in a chicken or egg situation. Should we raise? See, in order to raise VC funding, the VCs are asking that, hey, where is your product deployed? We want to see some users. And in order to get to those users, we need some money.
Right.
So that is why we are working in a very lean organization with a lot of agility, very limited number of team members, and we are sustaining on government grants and some of our personal savings until we deploy those products in Royal Orchid.
What is the timeline of deploying those products? Are you having any time deadline also?
Yes, yes, we do. We have to deploy them by middle of July.
Okay. So, how the ecosystem is helping you? Like, are you looking to add new channel partners or distributors or resellers?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we are also connecting with a lot of NGOs, which work specifically in the disability sector. Throughout our 4 years of startup journey, we met a lot of genuinely good organizations and founders like Pratik Madhav or Assistic Foundations. So Assistic Foundations is a startup incubator specifically for startups working on helping people with disabilities or assistive technologies. So these organizations have been a great source of a great channel for getting customers also, getting investors also, and understanding the deaf psyche also.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, we are adding, definitely we are adding more and more channel partners every day.
Okay, so when you have started this, what is the year of establishment of your firm?
We have established it in April 2021, but we've been working on it since January 2020.
Okay. 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 So where are you right now? Your headquarters is in
Pune.
which in Pune. Okay. Okay. And how many founders you are?
We are two co-founders currently.
Okay, actually, I think I'm done with all my questions.
Perfect. It was fun chatting with you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.